Here's just a look at Monza in the FW31. Just running some pre-week testing for the batteries not included. I believe it's called League. Now this is in default morning, and it's got a decent amount of track usage. I put it up to 49%, just on 10 laps. The best lap this session's a 23.4. I'm still very green when it comes to setting this car up, so I'm hoping there'll be a bit of improvement in some of the hosted sessions that are run in the week, as this is still a very rudimentary setup, but low drag seems to be the way to go around here. The more drag you put in the car, you just start losing a lot of time. So you just want to make sure you get a really good entry in the parabolica and carry a lot of speed onto your fast lap. Now here's probably, I think, the hardest little sequence on the track, and this accounts for every car, although you approach it a lot quicker in this. You're braking just before I'm braking before the 100 meter marker. It probably isn't the latest you can dive under the brakes. I'm sure you could probably gain a little bit, probably tens of meters deeper under brakes, but I try and make sure you don't make an error in locking up, and also carry maximum apex speed up and over the right hand curb. I find a lot of people dive the car deep under the braking and kind of take a really late apex in the front to the first curb. But I find that doesn't give you the proper line to the second curb, so I tend to not really worry too much about the braking zone, brake a little bit early, and then kind of release the brake early because of that, and then carry the momentum. So I'm getting on the brakes, yeah, just after about 140. And slowly feeding them off as you trail down to the apex, and off before turn in. Now then you carry the speed up over this right hand corner. Now you need to count the gears down, because you want to shift sixth down in the initial braking zone, because you want to be on first and exit. Second will make it a lot easier to get the traction down, but you just lose too much time under acceleration. And then slowly easing the throttle on, just feeling it. I'm correcting the car a little bit as it goes over the curb, as it lost rear traction slightly. Now on a lot of the videos I watch by the actual aliens that run this car, they seem to aggravate the rear out of every corner so much, like the car's sideways on acceleration constantly. I really can't drive it that way quickly. I don't know how they're getting the back end out and still keeping the car moving forward. I tend to like just to ease the throttle on and not really let the rear slip too much. Now again here, you're braking just after the 100 meter marker. This is a very important corner, as if you miss the braking just slightly, you've really got to transition out of the brakes and into the turn. There's one movement, and if you go a little bit too deep, again, you've got to make sure you hit first the inside curb and then the second curb. So I'm actually braking just slightly before the 100 meter marker, maybe about 110 meters. Again, probably not really pushing the braking zone, but making sure I carry the speed onto this left-hand curb here. Now you really want to make sure you get up and over that left-hand curb to cut back and give you a good acceleration out. You want to be using, you don't really want to use much racetrack through here, you're just using the curbs. Now into here, just using a small amount of brake, and you're turning the car in very aggressively. You want to, in transition, brake and make sure you get into that inside apex, and then run it out wide and quickly get in the throttle. The same here, transition off the brakes into the apex, but don't hit that inside curb too hard. If you're getting in too early there, you tend to clip it and that bounces the car and makes it lose a lot on traction. So these are fairly standard corners, but you do want to make sure you get the front end into the tight apex. Now on exit, it's really important to get on the throttle early as it transitions the car out. I'm picking it up nearly straight away after I get past the apex. Yeah, so just past the apex, you're picking the throttle up to give you a good acceleration out as you gain a lot running down this little back straight by doing it that way. Now through here, I'm braking at roughly the 100 meter marker. Now you want to guide the car. You don't want to hit these inside yellow marked curbs, but you do want to go on the red curbs. So you release the brake fairly early and throw the car up over there, up over those yellow curbs, and that will open up this next corner. If you go too deep under here, you find you're sort of moving the car back to the left to take this right-hander, whereas you shouldn't be transitioning much left. It should be pretty much going straight from here to this next apex. And that digs in through there. I'm just trying to find the throttle through this section, which is fairly in this car constantly varied. Like you never really, the car never feels planted through here. It's constantly kind of on edge. I kind of start to feel the back slip around midway through this transition and kind of have to back out of the throttle after I've gone on it again just to settle a little bit. That did cost a touch of drive out, but it was still a fairly clean run through that section. Now I've noticed up at the parabolic car, in the smaller cars, you don't really want to use all the track in the lower powered open wheelers, like the Renault and the Pro Mazda. But in this car, you really gain a lot of speed by pushing the car out wide. In the smaller powered cars, if you push using this whole track, you're just scrubbing a lot of speed and losing time, but here you really can get hard in the throttle. Now I'm braking down just before the 50 meter marker, and you really have to get it into the first apex. If you miss it, then you're losing a lot of time. So you transition the car, slightly trail brake it into the apex, then get on the throttle. It takes a little while. I'm probably a little bit cautious on this lap to go full throttle, because if you chuck it in there and hammer the throttle down, even at high speed with all the downforce on, as this is a very low drag circuit, you can sort of aggravate the back of the car a little bit. So you just kind of, I'm just kind of easing it on here, as it was a pretty good lap overall. Yeah, I definitely could have been a bit more aggressive under throttle there. It probably cost me a 10th, but it was still an okay lap. Did 23.4. As to what the laps will be when everyone gets a bit of experience, I'm not entirely sure. I found very small setup changes make a big difference in this car. 22s wouldn't surprise me when we got the setup right. Just here's the lap in fast motion.